current basically.
But it'll be much better this afternoon, although we cannot discount still a few showers for your trip home this afternoon. Cooler, drier air back here into the Great Lakes. You can see on the radar, once again, in Boston, you know, most of the rain slipping in.
This is the live view of rainfall underway in North Carolina. The wind is picking up. The early signs of Hurricane Bonnie. Conditions will deteriorate from this point as the storm collides with the United States. That was a picture out of Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina. We're going to take you there in just a moment. Meanwhile, Hurricane Bonnie closer to the coast now, certainly than it was several hours ago, under 100 miles, and tropical storm force winds extend outward some 230 miles. Hurricane warnings are still in effect from Edisto Beach, South Carolina, northward to Chincoteague, Virginia, and the area to the north is the area that looks like we'll see the brunt of the storm, the highest strike probability in southeastern portions of North Carolina and extreme northeastern portions of South Carolina. This updated as of 9 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. These are the current coordinates. The center of circulation at 32.8 north, 77.8 west, 100 miles south of Wilmington, North Carolina. Winds at 115 miles per hour, moving west-northwest or north-northwest at 14. 966 millibars of mercury. Now, it's probably closer, a half an hour closer anyway, which would put it about 95 miles. The tropical storm force winds have increased to 230 miles from the center of circulation, mostly to the northeast, and hurricane force winds are out 115 miles, also to the northeast. But hurricane force winds have already been felt along the Carolina coastline. Although our latest plot from Wilmington shows a wind gust of 46 miles per hour, we have had a wind gust estimated to 100 miles per hour at Pine Valley. All along the North Carolina coastline, we have Weather Channel folks that are sitting there watching what's going on. The impact of the winds for you look like this. Hurricane force winds just off the coast. They, again, are just to the north and east of the eye of Hurricane Bonnie. And to watch this hurricane as it begins its move to the north, we are going to take you to this area. At Nags Head Beach, we have Jeff Morrill. And at Morehead City, we have Jim Cantori. At Wrightsville Beach, Bill Keneally. Bill Keneally began his coverage yesterday in some pretty good weather. Kind of was the case with Jeff Morrill earlier this morning and Jim Cantori. But it has deteriorated rapidly, and we take you there first with a report from Bill.
All right, Marshall, thanks a lot. Again, Jeff, this is a fair warning. I burned out there in the sun yesterday. This weather is coming at you, believe me. All right, what's going on out here? We have a lot of wind. We have northeast winds. They're not changing. They're holding at about 04 degrees, or we'll say 40 degrees. So it's a steady northeast wind, gusting 40 to 50 miles per hour, occasionally some higher gusts. We know that because some of the larger oak trees behind the hotel have snapped over the last couple of hours. Looking south, you can see there's still a red light. The power is up in the area. I'm truly amazed. We've had some power surges where we've had some brief brownouts, but we are holding on to power. Thankfully, we're holding on to cable TV as well. We're hunkered down here. The tide is in. We'll go check it out at the marina in the next half hour, give you a report from the waterfront area. Now let's head up the coast to Jim Cantori and see what's going on there in Morehead City. Jim?
Hey, Jeff, things are not half as bad as they are down there. Morehead City, about 60 miles north of where Bill is, off to the north-northeast. And no doubt we've got some problems there on the coast, downstate a little bit. Let's go ahead and show you across the bay. Now, we moved inland from Atlantic Beach last night after our live shots, and we're about a mile inland from where we were last night. And you can see here across the sound that it's a little gray, it's a little gloomy out there, and we're just about 30-40 minutes away from high tide. And that's going to mean the potential of some pretty high surge there on the coast. So we'll know, obviously, later on how the coast stood the surge and also the high tide at this particular time. But everything is ready to go here. We talked to emergency management. The schools are closed. A lot of the events for today have been canceled, and people are just basically waiting this thing on out. I'll tell you, don't be fooled, too. This isn't only a coastal storm. If you live along the Neuse, Pamlico rivers, you're going to see 10 to 12-foot surge. The Beaufort and also the North rivers, you're probably going to see 8 to 10-foot surge. Right now, currently, there are seas as high as 12 to 18 feet just south of Cape Hatteras in North Carolina. So those are some huge breakers coming in. Don't let your guard down. Our hurricane is still to our south, even though right now, in my personal opinion, this is not as bad as Fran was. but I'm not down near the heart of it, which is where Bill is. I'm a little bit farther north. Speaking of farther north, let's go up to Nags Head and get a report from Jeff Morrow. Jeff?
Jim, I just heard you talking about the Neuse and Pamlico rivers. Our own Rich Johnson actually had some in-laws that live up the Pamlico or Neuse rivers, one of the two, and they sustained some pretty major damage, as did many people there. And with the storm surge coming right up the rivers there on an east wind from this hurricane, it's probably going to be bad there again. And that's really the main problem here. It's either going to be the ocean surge, which you're looking at now. The ocean really kicked up today with 8 to 12-foot breakers well offshore on this east-southeasterly wind, or the surge coming from Albemarle and Pamlico Sounds. That's probably the biggest danger out here on the Outer Banks. Fortunately, just about everybody heeded the evacuation, the mandatory evacuation yesterday. All the tourists definitely gone. Some of the locals, too, decided to head off the island for this one. A few have stayed as usual, but other than that, it's pretty deserted out here. So the folks that are left, the news crews and some of the locals, were awaiting the arrival. As Bill said, some of that bad weather is going to be headed our way, we suspect, and fear a little bit later on as we head on through the afternoon. Jeff Morrow from Nags Head. Marshall, back to you.
Thanks, Jeff, for that report. We'll be checking in with you later as well. Joining me on the phone now is Tom Ditt, who's the emergency management director for North Carolina. And we want to talk with Mr. Ditt about current evacuations and projected evacuations. How would you care to comment on that, Tom? We'll go to Tom Ditt probably in a half an hour. Right now, we'll come back to our hurricane expert, Dr. Steve Lyons, tropical coordinator here at the Weather Channel. Dr. Lyons, what do you think? We're about how many hours from landfall and where?
Well, right now it looks like that the hurricane has made the turn. It's in the last few frames here. You can see it's moving almost due north now, and that general direction should continue the next 3 or 4 hours. So we don't expect it to landfall to the west of where it is now, but it's not impossible that it could take a jog to the west. So over in here, just to the south and west of Wilmington, you'd be very prepared just in case. But it could also take a little jog more toward the northeast as well. So this whole area is under the gun. You should be prepared for the worst, no matter where you are in that general area.
Now, this is a very large storm, too. We've heard many references to Fran, but this, in fact, will affect a larger area than Fran, will it not?
Yes, I think so. Because of all the wave action on the beach, I think when all is over, we'll see a lot more erosion and beach damage than from Fran.
How about storm surge? Who should be particularly on the alert?
Well, down here on the south-facing side of North Carolina, on the right side of the landfall of the hurricane, which is this area here, watch out, because there's very large breaking waves on that side, plus the storm surge. That will probably be the highest water level rises. On the other hand, up here, as the storm comes and makes a general turn this way, we can have some significant storm surge on the east-facing side as well, and that storm surge can affect areas well inland, not right at the coast as well.
Our current map, there you see the Hurricane Bonnie approaching the coast of North Carolina. In the northeast, though, we've been looking at a cold front here that's been moving slowly southeastward. Early morning heavy downpours in New York and Boston have drifted off to the east, but as we take a look at the radar for you this morning.
Well, to the north of the Leeward Islands. Yesterday we were telling you about it moving into the Antilles. Now expected to move well to the north. That's the good news. The bad news is about 72 hours from now, we have it somewhere in about this position. Look familiar? That's where Bonnie came from. That is now imminent along the North Carolina coastline. How imminent? Well, probably within
but powerful hurricane here. Good news is for Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands and the Leeward Islands, the main effects of this storm will bypass you to the north. And here's our visible satellite picture showing our compact hurricane here, moving its way off to the west.
You're already seeing very heavy rain and winds on the increase in North Carolina this morning. This is out of Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina, as Hurricane Bonnie takes aim at the U.S. Atlantic coast. Bonnie is expected to make landfall in North Carolina a little later today. winds definitely on the increase. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us here at the Weather Channel. I'm Marshall Cease. We're tracking Hurricane Bonnie. We have the new coordinates out also from the National Hurricane Center. First off, let's look at the hurricane warnings. They have been adjusted. This says Edisto Beach, but they're a little further to the north now. From Cape Romaine northward to Chincoteague, Virginia are the current hurricane warnings. This is the area of greatest strike probability, and that is still southeastern North Carolina. Now, the new advisories may be in. This is the old advisory at 10 o'clock. If the new one is in, that would be shown here. So let me do this for you. The current pressure is still 966 millibars. It is moving north-northwest a little slower at just about 12 miles per hour. And the center of circulation is at 33.2 north and 77.8 west. So it looks as though this hurricane is slowing a little bit, maintaining its speed, and still headed to the north-northwest, but a little turn to the north. Hurricane winds still extend out a dramatic amount, anywhere from up to 135 miles and some 230 miles for your tropical storm force winds. Along the coast, we've had wind gusts at Wilmington to 55 miles per hour, 56 at Myrtle Beach, and we also have some indications now that some wind gusts have also been over 100 miles an hour in the Pine Valley area near Wrightstown Beach, and we'll have some more information on that coming up in a moment as well. Now, we have folks positioned all on the North Carolina coastline because of the impact from the winds and Hurricane Bonnie today. Hurricane Bonnie still off the coast, some 70 to 80 miles, headed to the north. And you can see that the tropical storm force winds extend outward almost into Morehead City now, where wind gusts have been on the increase. We have at Nags Head Jeff Morrow, and Jeff is going to be reporting to us. We also have Bill Keneally at Wrightstown Beach, and Bill is being very buffeted right now by very heavy rain and very strong winds. We'll go to Bill Keneally first for a report.
Marshall, good morning to you, and as you can see, we're catching the fury of Hurricane Bonnie behind me. We're looking south, and we are seeing as bad a squall as we have had this morning. Winds on the order of 60 to probably 70 miles per hour. I have the pleasure now of being joined by Mayor Avery Roberts of Wrightsville Beach. Mayor, it's been a long night, huh?
Long night.
I understand you have a contact out there on the barrier island. Can you tell me what he has seen?
Right, and well, we have the Board of Aldermen. All of us are together, and we've been monitoring it since all through the night. And we left about 3 o'clock. We had everybody left but 15 of our employees. Now, we did have the last person left about 30 minutes ago, so we have no one on the beach now. But we are a little encouraged by what he had to say to us, that we on it right now, we're approaching the rising tide. So, and we have not got the surge yet. And what we are hopeful for, it would greatly affect us, that the surge would come on a falling tide for us, and it would be a great help to the people at Wrightsville Beach. But we're going to constantly, and I must say some good things about our employees. I was down there last night and visited with a number of them at 10:30, 11 o'clock, and a little after, and they were just great. They were doing a great job.
Now, I understand 2 years ago in Hurricane Fran, you served as an alderman for the Wrightsville Beach area. What can you tell me that you feel that you have learned from that experience?
Well, it gave you a little experience. I don't know where I could do all of this if I hadn't been an alderman and go through that. And all of our people are well trained, our department heads on the beach, and we have a fine board of aldermen that are well trained. Most of them have gone to Emmitsburg for federal training on hurricanes, and you have a simulated hurricane just like this up there, and it makes it so real that you have all of these thoughts and everything, and that is very helpful to us. But our people are so well trained, and our board of aldermen is very well versed in hurricanes.
Mayor Avery Roberts, thank you very much. I know you guys probably feel picked on these days, be it Bertha, be it Fran, and now Hurricane Bonnie.
Well, we appreciate what you do to keep our citizens informed about what is going on. We appreciate that communication with them.
Thank you very much, and we'll hopefully maintain that correspondence with the mayor's office. But again, we're on the mainland here. It's bad news here. I shudder to think what it's like now on the barrier island. Speaking of barrier islands, let's head way up the beach now, up around the Nags Head area, and get a report from Jeff Morrow. Good morning, Jeff.
Nothing like the conditions you have down there in Wrightsville Beach, or just west of Wrightsville Beach, Bill. Here at Nags Head, the surf is definitely up, as it has been all morning, and the tide is just about high tide right now, within a half an hour or so. We've seen the water come up about as high as we've seen it, but again, conditions are nothing like what's going on down where you are, but we expect that to change. Of course, as the hurricane starts to move its way up the coast, and I understand it may be taking a little bit more of a northward jog now, later on, maybe even into this evening, if it has slowed down, like I'm understanding from what Marshall was saying, it's going to be a little while before those hurricane conditions get all the way up to the Outer Banks. But it'll be Ocracoke Island first on the south side in Hyde County, then working up over Hatteras Island, and then on up here toward Nags Head and Manio. Wherever, we will keep you advised. We'll be here to tell you about it at Nags Head here on the Outer Banks. Marshall, back to you.
Thanks, Jeff. Very, very important information. And what you need to know about this particular hurricane is that at 12 miles per hour, slowed a little bit, it will affect a large area with hurricane force winds long before any landfall, and probably after the landfall occurs too. So all afternoon and late this morning, stay tuned with us so we can get the latest updates to you. Meanwhile, we do have new information from the National Hurricane Center. Dr. Steve Lyons, our hurricane expert and tropical coordinator here at the Weather Channel. Can you give us the particulars on the new advisories?
It looks now like it's moving generally to the north. Right now we have a little bit of a jog to the northwest because there's an asymmetry in the thunderstorms, but the overall trend will be toward the north the next 6 to 12 hours. So it looks like it's heading right north, and it may be right over Bill Keneally's head here in another 6 hours or so.
And we've had wind gusts now reported in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, to 56 miles per hour.
That's right. That's on the side of those very heavy thunderstorms that are in the northwest side of the storm right now.
I think we can take a look at that first on radar and then on the satellite picture. We'll put this one into motion for you.
Okay, right now you can see the center of the system is roughly right there. You can see a big band of thunderstorms right in here moving right over the Wilmington area, and very strong squalls there, and also down in here over northern South Carolina. Keep in mind those hurricane warnings mean hurricane force winds, so in this case the hurricane force winds can affect this whole area up in here potentially. It's a very large hurricane.
Let's take a look at the satellite picture. A lot of deep convection developing on the northeast side.
That's right, and you can see now that Keneally is located.
Now, the National Hurricane Center also indicated that the storm surge is definitely going to be influenced by this hurricane through perhaps 2 high tides.
Yeah, the first high tide will be close to landfall later today on this coast, but as it moves inland, the winds will remain relatively strong out here off the coast. And by the time it gets up into this area, it'll be the next high tide on the east coast of North Carolina. So this will be the second high tide area here. This will be the first high tide area potentially.
And you've talked to the folks in Norfolk, Virginia. They're concerned also about storm surge?
That's right. And any east or northeast component of wind into that Norfolk Bay area is very, very dangerous. So they need to pay very close attention. And as the system moves to the north, even the people in the northeast better pay very close attention. There could be some major flooding and very strong winds as well.
Very definitely. And 2 north, 77.8 west, 75 miles south of Wilmington, North Carolina.
M2 processor at 350 megahertz for only $19.99. Let nothing stand between you and pure performance. Be direct. Dell.
You can also get reliable forecasts from the Weather Channel through this radio station. Stay with the Weather Channel for up-to-the-minute coverage of Hurricane Bonnie. Get the potential impact and be prepared. Watch Weather Center on the hour and half.
If you're thinking about satellite TV, there's something you might not know. After you pay for the dish and the receiver and the installation, there's still one more thing you'll need: programming. Let's face it, the shows you want to watch, that's what television's all about. With satellite TV, you may need to sign up with several different programming suppliers just to get the same top-rated channels you're enjoying now with Comcast, and that could actually cost you more. Think about it.
If you're considering satellite TV, you might want to think twice. Comcast, everything you connect with. Over 1 million have gotten tighter stomachs with 8-minute abs. And to celebrate our success, we created the 8-minute Gold Collection.
I went from this flabby spare tire to a washboard stomach. Thanks, 8-minute abs.
You'll get 8-minute abs, 8-minute buns, and 8-minute arms. All 3 videos for only $29.95. Flatten those abs, shape your buns, and tone your arms. Call now and we'll include 8-minute legs free. That's an $80 value for only $29.95. To order all 4 videos, call 1-800-257-5700 now.
Every day is new. We tell you about the weather right now. How will it affect where you're headed? What about your plans? People count on us to get them through the day. I love that.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
Tropical update begins with a look at Hurricane Bonnie. 33.3, 77.9. That is the latest position estimate. Hurricane continues to bear down on Cape Fear. Hurricane warnings flying on the coast. There you see your greatest strike probabilities in through here. Visible satellite picture shows you the hurricane closing in on the coast. We can zoom right in here. The eye is about 12 miles in diameter here. Here's Cape Fear. So the worst is getting ready to move in during the next 1 to 2 hours. Winds will be gusting well in excess of 90 miles an hour and 100 miles an hour here. Radar shows you the heavy rain coming in. Wilmington's already picked up a quick 2 inches of rain. Plenty more on the way. Now down to the south, we have Hurricane Danielle to talk about. 19.3 north, 52.1 west, 105 mile an hour winds. Systems moving off to the west-northwest at 21. Look to the west of it. See a little swirl right here? That's an upper low pressure. This could help to pull Danielle on a more westerly track. So that will have to be watched closely. But in the short term, the Leeward Islands, the Virgin Islands of Puerto Rico, looks like you'll be spared this one as it should pass by just to the north. It's a compact storm. It's a powerful storm. And this could threaten the Bahamas and Florida over the weekend. So if you're planning a trip to Florida or the Bahamas, you want to keep a close eye on Danielle as it will continue to move westward. Now, over the past couple of days, we've been watching disturbed weather here in the Caribbean. That's a tropical wave moving west. We'll have to keep an eye on this as this weather heads towards Florida over the next couple of days. At the present time, we don't see any organization. And lastly, the tropical waves still coming off the coast of Africa. Here come a couple of big ones that we might have to watch in the future.
I'm Jeff Morrow at Nags Head, North Carolina. What effects will Hurricane Bonnie have on the Outer Banks today? Stay tuned for the latest on Weather Center.
So your hair's a little damaged? That's okay. Really damaged? Even better. Because the worse the damage,